How do we charge for our fault finds, particularly the difficult ones? That's a question we get more than most. Now, the main answer is as fairly as possible, given that it's sort of very random nature and it's a bit open-ended. So we're always as transparent as possible with our costs. So we always give away our hourly costs and things like that. And hourly is generally how we will charge for these things. Most of the time it's done within 1 or 2 hours. So it's generally quite easy to quote or invoice for that. If it's a more complicated one, we will have normally figured out at least what the main issue is within the first hour or two. And if that's the case, then if it's a really difficult one and, cables need replacing, or it's a lot more of a long-winded resolution, we will then provide a quote from that point. So we'll still only charge for the first hour or two as we've quoted or as we've mentioned, but then we'll provide a further quote from that point. So the actual resolution part of the work will have a proper quote for it and people will know exactly how much they're spending for the rectification of it. Then you've got an example of one I had this morning as well. The sporadic faults are definitely the worst ones to try and find anyway, when an RCG is tripped once a month or something like that for 2 or 3 months. So there's obviously something going on, but it's by no means a serious or an ongoing problem. It can be really sporadic based on really slight conditions, but they're very, very difficult to find. And to be honest, you don't want to waste people's money when it comes to stuff like this. So we tend to be a bit more, again, sort of fair, hopefully, on it, but this is normally how we'll do it. So today, for example, we got called in for that exact reason. Someone had a circuit go a couple of times over a few days about a month ago, then nothing, and then it's gone a couple of times in a few days recently, but then it's not gone for another 48 hours. And again, there's several circuits that can be involved. It's very, very difficult to find because you're basically testing, looking for something that could be physically anywhere. So that's quite tricky. So what we will do is, like I did today, is we did an initial survey. They've paid for you to come out for the hour, so we're definitely going to be there for the full hour, checking everything we can, all the obvious stuff, all the visuals that we can do, tightening up connections, doing some basic tests and all that sort of stuff. And if there's nothing obvious, then we will I say to people, we'll hold it there, give them a whole run through of explanations of things they can do themselves to help deduce in their own time, or if it does happen again, to always make note of when it's happened, what the weather conditions are like and all that sort of stuff, giving them some real specifics, because that can be massively helpful with these really random faults, and they can then sort of almost self-diagnose when they're not being charged by the hour. Then we can come back if it does happen again, hopefully with some more information that they may have obtained as well, but we will only pick up from where we left off. So we have a first hour and second hour charge. So we will do the first hour initially, as always, hopefully in hope that we will fix the problem. If we can't, when we come back next time, it will be starting from our second hour charge. So it'll just be picking up from where we left off. And again, in an attempt to keep it as fair as possible. So not just to keep costs rolling, because I really don't like that. So yeah, in this instance, that's how we will quote that sort of situation. And ideally on the second trip, we will then fix it, or again, come up with a quote from that point onwards. But never do we keep it sort of just on we'll come in on an hourly rate and 7 hours later we're still there just racking up hourly rates. It just doesn't seem fair. We always try and be as upfront as possible about that sort of thing.